Have you ever felt like you're just going through the motions? Like some vital part of you has shut down and you're watching your life from behind glass? Like you're a ghost in your own story? Here's something most people don't understand. That emptiness you're feeling isn't the end. It's not depression winning. It's not you failing at life. Carl Jung discovered something profound about this exact moment. He called it the necessary death before rebirth. And if you're experiencing it right now, you're not broken. You're transforming. But here's the catch. Most people panic during this phase. They try to go back to who they were. They numb themselves with distractions. They convince themselves something is terribly wrong. And in doing so, they abort the most important transformation of their lives. What if I told you that feeling dead inside is actually a sign you're about to become more alive than you've ever been? This is for anyone who's lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering why nothing excites them anymore. For the high achiever who suddenly can't find motivation. For the person who used to be so sure of themselves, but now questions everything. For anyone who feels like they're in a cocoon of numbness and can't remember what it felt like to truly feel. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this dark phase is actually sacred. You'll recognize the psychological process happening beneath the surface. And most importantly, you'll know how to navigate it without losing yourself completely. Because Jung believed only a rare few ever discover this truth. Most people spend their entire lives running from this moment. But you're here. You're searching. That alone tells me something important about you. Stay with me until the end, because the last sign is something even Jung himself struggled to explain. It's the one that separates those who transform from those who stay stuck forever. Let's start with what's really happening when you feel this way. Point 1. Your old identity is actually dying. This is where it gets real. That feeling of being dead inside isn't metaphorical. Something inside you is literally dying. Your old self, the person you thought you were, the identity you've been carrying around like armor. Think about it like this. You spend years, maybe decades, building this version of yourself. The good student, the reliable friend, the ambitious professional, the strong one, the funny one, whatever role you've been playing. And now suddenly, that character doesn't fit anymore. It's like wearing a costume that's 3 sizes too small. You can barely breathe in it. But here's what makes this so confusing. Society taught you that you are that identity. Your job title, your achievements, your personality traits. So when those things start feeling hollow, you think you're disappearing. You are not. The mask is crumbling. The real you is trying to emerge. Jung called this ego death. And it's terrifying because the ego will do anything to survive. It'll convince you something's wrong. It'll tell you to get back to normal. It'll make you feel crazy for questioning who you've always been. I'll give you a modern example. Think about someone who spent 10 years climbing the corporate ladder, got the promotion they wanted, and then suddenly felt nothing. Empty. They look at their life from the outside, and it looks successful. But inside, they feel like a stranger to themselves. That's not burnout. That's their old identity dying because their soul outgrew it. Here's the hard truth. You can't become who you're meant to be while clinging to who you were. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by adding wings. It literally dissolves. Its entire structure breaks down in the cocoon. That's what's happening to you right now. Have you noticed yourself going through the motions of your old life while feeling completely disconnected from it? That's this process beginning. Point 2. The void before creation. Now, after your old self starts dying, you enter what Jung called the void. And this is where most people absolutely lose it. Because in the void, there's nothing. No clear path forward. No new identity waiting. Just this vast, terrifying emptiness. You wake up and don't know who you are anymore. You don't know what you want. Things that used to define you mean nothing. And there's no instruction manual for what comes next. You're in pure uncertainty. And humans hate uncertainty more than almost anything. Let me paint a picture. Imagine you've been living in a house your whole life. You know every room, every corner. Then one day, the house burns down. You're standing in the ashes, and everyone keeps asking, so what are you going to build? But you don't know yet. You can't see it. You're just standing in the emptiness where something used to be. That's the void. And our culture has no patience for it. We're supposed to have our next move figured out. We're supposed to bounce back quickly, pivot, reinvent ourselves on demand. But real transformation doesn't work that way. Jung understood that the void is sacred. It's the space where the unconscious can finally speak, where your true self can start merging. But only if you stop trying to fill it with the first thing that makes you feel secure again. Think about every great story you've ever loved. The hero always goes through the dark forest. The unknown. The place where all the old maps are useless. Luke Skywalker in the cave on Dagobah. Simba in the desert after his father's death. That void isn't a bug in the story. It's the entire point. But here's what people do instead. They panic. They grab the first new identity they can find. They rush into a new relationship to avoid being alone with themselves. They throw themselves into work. They start a business. They move cities. Anything to escape the emptiness. And in doing so, they just put on a new mask before discovering who's actually beneath all the masks. The void asks you to sit in not knowing, to be comfortable with having no answers. And that's excruciating in a world that rewards certainty and confidence. Are you trying to rush through this phase, or are you allowing yourself to just be in it? Point 3. Nothing brings you joy anymore. This is the sign that makes people think they're depressed. And sometimes they are. But often something deeper is happening. The things that used to light you up just don't anymore. Your hobbies feel pointless. Your goals feel hollow. Success feels empty. Even your relationships feel like you're performing rather than connecting. You're not losing your ability to feel joy. You're outgrowing your old sources of joy. Your soul has evolved beyond what your life currently offers. And that's incredibly disorienting. Let me give you a relatable example. Remember when you were a kid and you loved certain toys? Then one day, maybe around 11 or 12, you picked up that toy and felt nothing. Not sad, just nothing. The toy didn't change. You did. You outgrew it. That's what's happening now, but with your entire life. The career you chose at 22. The friend group from college. The goals you set when you were a different person. They're not bad. They're just not for the person you're becoming. Jung talked about this as the psyche's way of forcing evolution. If you still found joy in your old life, you'd never leave it. You'd never transform. So the unconscious starts withdrawing energy from those old investments. It starts shutting down your enthusiasm for anything that's not aligned with your deeper purpose. This is why people in their late 30s and 40s often go through massive life changes. Why someone successful suddenly leaves their career. Why long marriages end not in anger, but in quiet realization that both people have outgrown the relationship they built in their 20s. But here's the terrifying part. The new sources of joy haven't revealed themselves yet. You're in the gap. The old doesn't work. The new hasn't arrived. So you just feel flat. Namdatia. Like color has drained from the world. Most people mistake this for clinical depression and medicate it away. And sometimes medication is necessary. But sometimes this flatness is actually your psyche's way of saying stop doing what you've always done. It's withdrawing your energy from the wrong life so you're forced to find the right one. Don't skip past this. Wait until you hear point number 7. It's the one that explains why this process feels so lonely. Have you lost interest in things that used to define you? That's not you losing yourself. That's you finding yourself. Point 4. You're questioning everything you once believed. Here's where things get philosophical. When you're in this death before rebirth phase, your entire belief system starts crumbling. Values you held for years suddenly seem questionable. Truths you never doubted now feel like stories you were told. You start asking dangerous questions. What do I actually want versus what I was taught to want? Who am I without my achievements? What if everything I've been working toward doesn't matter? Is this really my life, or am I living someone else's script? This is psychological dissolution. Jung believed that before you can individuate, before you can become your true self, you have to deconstruct all of the borrowed beliefs, the things your parents taught you, what society programmed into you, the stories about who you should be. Think about it like this. Imagine you've been living in a house built by other people. Your parents laid the foundation. Your teachers built the walls. Society decorated it. And you've just been living there, assuming it's your house. Then one day, you realize you didn't choose any of this. And suddenly you're tearing down walls, questioning the foundation, asking if you even want to live in a house at all. That's what this phase feels like. And it's destabilizing because beliefs are how we make sense of the world. When they start falling apart, reality itself feels uncertain. Let me give you a modern example. Someone spends their 20s believing success means a 6-figure salary and an impressive job title. They work 80-hour weeks, sacrifice relationships, finally get the promotion. And then one random Tuesday, they're sitting in their corner office and think, what am I actually doing? That's not a crisis. That's an awakening. Or think about someone raised religious who suddenly can't force themselves to believe anymore. They're not becoming immoral. They're becoming authentic. Their psyche is rejecting borrowed beliefs to find their own truth. Jung said individuation requires you to question everything, to hold up every belief and ask, is this mine? Or is this given to me? And most of what you find is given, programmed, inherited, which means most of who you think you are isn't actually you. That's why this phase feels like death, because you're discovering that the person you've been is partly fiction, a construction, and deconstructing it feels like dissolving. But here's the beautiful part. On the other side of this questioning is clarity, real clarity, not borrowed wisdom but earned understanding. You're not losing your mind, you're finding it. Have you started questioning beliefs you've held your entire life? Welcome to the awakening. Point 5. You feel disconnected from everyone. This is the sign that makes the process so painful. Right when you're going through the hardest transformation of your life, you feel completely alone in it. Your friends don't get it. Your family thinks you're going through a phase. When you try to explain what you're feeling, the words come out wrong and people look at you like you're having a breakdown. So you stop trying. You withdraw, not because you want to be alone, but because being around people while feeling this disconnected is exhausting. It's like everyone's speaking a language you used to know fluently, but now sounds foreign. Jung called this the loneliness of individuation. When you start becoming your authentic self, you temporarily lose connection with people who only knew your old self. They expect you to be who you were. They want you to go back to normal. But you can't. That person doesn't exist anymore. Here's a relatable example. Imagine someone who was always the life of the party. Funny, outgoing, energetic. Then they go through this transformation and suddenly they need quiet, deep conversations, solitude. Their friends keep inviting them out and wondering why they've changed. They haven't changed. They've stopped performing. Or think about someone who's been the responsible one in their family, the one everyone leans on. Then during their rebirth, they start setting boundaries, saying no, prioritizing their own needs. Their family calls them selfish, but they're not being selfish. They're finally being a self. The hard truth is most relationships are based on who you were, not who you're becoming. And during transformation, you outgrow people. Not because they're bad people, but because you're on different journeys now. They're still in the old house. You're in the void, building something new. This is why transformation is so lonely. You're between worlds. You've left your old community but haven't found your new one yet. You're shedding your old identity, but the new one hasn't fully formed. So you're just alone with yourself in ways you've never been before. And our culture doesn't honor this. We're supposed to always be connected, always socializing. A full social calendar means you're successful. But sometimes the most important thing you can do is disappear for a while. Retreat. Let the transformation happen without an audience. Jung spent years in what he called his confrontation with the unconscious. He withdrew from society. People thought he was losing it, but he was actually doing the deepest work of his life, integrating his shadow, meeting his demons, becoming whole. Here's the thing though, the loneliness isn't permanent. Once you emerge from this transformation, you'll find your people. The ones who resonate with who you actually are, not who you pretended to be. But you have to be willing to walk through the loneliness first. Do you feel like nobody understands what you're going through right now? You're not crazy. You're in transition. Point 6. Your sleep and dreams are completely different. Now we're getting into something Jung was obsessed with. During this death and rebirth phase, your unconscious becomes incredibly active, and that shows up in your sleep patterns and dreams. You might be sleeping way more than usual, like your body knows you need to retreat. Or you're barely sleeping at all, lying awake for hours while your mind processes everything. Your dreams become vivid, intense, sometimes terrifying. You're having dreams about death, about falling, about being chased, about losing everything. That's not random. Your unconscious is literally working through the transformation. Dreams are the language of the psyche. And right now, your psyche is screaming. Jung analyzed thousands of dreams and found patterns in people going through major life transitions. Dreams of death that aren't about dying, but about transformation. Dreams of water, representing the unconscious itself. Dreams of being in unfamiliar houses, symbolizing the self you're constructing. Let me give you an example. Someone going through this phase dreams they're in their childhood home, but all the rooms are different. Nothing is where it should be. They keep getting lost. That's their unconscious showing them that their old internal structure doesn't work anymore. The map of who they were is obsolete. Or someone dreams they're naked in public. Classic anxiety dream, right? But during transformation, it means something deeper. Your defenses are down. Your persona is stripped away. You're vulnerable in ways you've never been. Here's what's fascinating. The unconscious often knows what's happening before your conscious mind does. So your dreams start showing you the death and rebirth themes before you fully understand what you're going through. Jung kept a red book where he recorded his dreams and visions during his own transformation. He drew them, analyzed them, let them guide him. And he encouraged everyone going through psychological death to pay attention to their dreams. They're messages from the self that's trying to be born. If you're sleeping 12 hours a day and still waking up exhausted, that's not just physical tiredness. Your psyche is doing massive internal work. If you're having the most intense dreams of your life, your unconscious is processing the transformation. Don't ignore this. Write down your dreams. Look for the patterns. They're showing you the way through. Are your dreams trying to tell you something about this transformation? Point 7. You're becoming allergic to superficiality. Here's the point I promised you earlier, and it's huge. During this phase, you lose your ability to tolerate shallow anything. Small talk feels like torture. Surface-level friendships feel exhausting. Casual conversations about weather and weekend plans make you want to scream. It's not that you've become judgmental or arrogant. It's that your psyche is demanding depth now. When you're going through a profound internal transformation, superficiality feels like violence to your soul. Think about it this way. Well, when you're in emotional pain, when you're questioning everything, when you're experiencing psychological death, the last thing you can do is pretend everything's fine over brunch. You can't perform normalcy anymore. You can't wear the social mask. So you just avoid situations that require it. Jung talked about this as the psyche becoming more integrated and honest. When you're in touch with deep psychological truths, Shallow interactions feel fake, and you can't unsee that. You can't go back to pretending you don't see how surface level most of modern life is. Here's a modern example. Someone going through this transformation gets invited to a networking event. 6 months ago, they would have gone, worked the room, collected business cards. Now, the thought of it makes them physically uncomfortable, not because they're antisocial, because they can't fake enthusiasm for transactional relationships anymore. Or think about scrolling through social media during this phase. Everyone's posting their highlight reel, their perfect life, their achievements, and instead of inspiring you or entertaining you, it just feels empty. Like watching people perform for an audience that doesn't really care. You see through it now. This is why people going through transformation often pull back from social obligations. They cancel plans. They stop responding to group chats. They ghost, not because they don't care about people, but because they can't participate in superficiality while going through something so real. The hard part is this looks like depression to the outside world. People think you're isolating, going downhill, need to be cheered up. So they try to drag you to parties, set you up on dates, get you back out there. But what you actually need is permission to stay in the depth, to not come up for air yet. Jung believed modern society is built on avoiding depth. We fill every moment with noise, entertainment, distraction, work, because sitting with ourselves is too uncomfortable. But during rebirth, you can't avoid yourself anymore. You're forced into depth whether you're ready or not. Here's the gift though. Once you come through this, you'll never tolerate superficial relationships again. You'll build your life around meaning and authenticity. You'll attract people who value depth. But first, you have to be okay with the loneliness that comes from refusing to fake it anymore. This is why I said wait for this point. It explains the isolation more than anything else. You're not depressed. You're just living in a different emotional frequency than most people right now. Have you noticed you can't do small talk anymore? That's your psyche demanding authenticity. Point 8. Time feels completely different. Here's something strange that happens during this phase. Your relationship with time changes completely. Sometimes hours feel like minutes. Sometimes a single day feels like a month. The past seems distant and foggy. The future feels impossible to imagine. You're stuck in this eternal present that's both too slow and too fast. This temporal distortion is your psyche's way of forcing you into the now. Because transformation can't happen while you're living in the past or projecting into the future. It only happens in present moment awareness. Jung understood that the psyche has its own timing. He talked about kairos versus chronos. Chronos is clock time, the time that moves forward predictably. Kairos is soul time, the right timing, the meaningful moments when things click. And during rebirth, you shift from chronos to kairos. Let me make this concrete. Someone going through this transformation might quit their job, and everyone asks, what are you going to do next? And they have no idea. They can't think that far ahead. Not because they're irresponsible, but because their psyche is saying not yet. The timing isn't right. They're still in the cocoon. Or think about how you can't remember what you did last week. Days blur together. You're not living by your calendar anymore. You're living by what your soul needs in each moment. And to everyone else, you seem like you're just drifting. But you're not drifting. You're incubating. Here's what's really happening. When your old identity dies, so does your old relationship with time. You were living by someone else's timeline. Society's timeline. Get educated by 22. Married by 30. Successful by 40. Your life was scheduled, planned, measured. But now you're in your own timing. And that's disorienting because you have nothing to compare it to. You don't know how long this phase will last. You don't know when you'll feel normal again. You're in liminal time. Between time. The time of transformation. Ancient cultures understood this. They had vision quests, walkabouts, periods where someone would leave normal time and enter sacred time. They'd go into the wilderness until their transformation was complete. No deadlines, no schedules, just the timing of the soul. We don't have that anymore. We have to keep going to work while dying inside. We have to maintain our responsibilities while our entire internal world is reorganizing. And that's exhausting because you're trying to live in two different time zones simultaneously. If you feel like you're in a time warp right now, you're not losing it. You're just operating on soul time instead of clock time. And eventually, you'll sync back up with regular time. But the person who syncs back up will be different. Does time feel weird to you right now? Like nothing makes sense anymore? That's actually a sign the transformation is deepening. Point 9. You're experiencing spontaneous emotional releases. Now we're getting into the messy part. During this rebirth phase, emotions you've suppressed for years suddenly surface. You're crying for no reason, feeling rage at random moments, laughing at things that aren't funny. Your emotional regulation system is basically offline. This isn't you having a breakdown. This is your psyche purging. Years of unfelt feelings, unexpressed grief, swallowed anger, it's all coming up now. Because you can't become whole while carrying all that unprocessed emotion. Jung called this shadow integration. The shadow is everything you've repressed, denied, pushed down. And during transformation, the shadow has to be acknowledged and integrated, which means feeling everything you've avoided feeling. Let me give you a real example. Someone going through this is driving to work, and a song comes on the radio, and they start sobbing uncontrollably. They don't even like the song, but something about it unlocked a grief they've been carrying since childhood. That's not random. That's the psyche saying it's time to feel this now. Or someone gets irrationally angry at something minor. Their coffee order is wrong and they want to flip a table. That's not about the coffee. That's years of suppressed frustration finally having permission to exist. Our culture teaches us to regulate emotions. Stay professional. Keep it together. Don't be too much. So we develop this incredible ability to push feelings down, to smile when we're dying inside, to say we're fine when we're falling apart. And that works for a while, until it doesn't. During rebirth, your emotional immune system stops protecting you from your own feelings. Everything you've stored in the basement comes flooding up, and it's overwhelming because you're feeling it all at once. This is why people going through transformation often look like they're having emotional breakdowns. They cry in public. They cancel plans because they're too emotionally raw. They can't watch sad movies or read the news because their emotional borders are down. But here's what's actually happening. You're not becoming unstable. You're becoming real. You're finally feeling what you've always felt, but never allowed yourself to fully experience. And that's healthy. That's necessary. You can't transform while still pretending to be okay. Jung said the shadow must be made conscious, or it will direct your life unconsciously. All that repressed emotion was running the show from behind the scenes. Now it's coming forward. And yes, it's messy, but it's also liberating. Think about it like this. Imagine you've been carrying a 50-pound backpack of emotions for 20 years. You got so used to it you forgot it was there. Then during transformation, someone makes you take off the backpack and unpack it. And you're looking at 20 years of grief, rage, fear, shame. Of course you're overwhelmed. But once you process it all, you don't have to carry it anymore. That's what these spontaneous emotional releases are. You're not falling apart. You're unpacking. And on the other side of this emotional purge is a lighter, freer, more authentic you. Have you been crying or feeling intense emotions for no clear reason? That's not weakness. That's courage. You're finally feeling everything you've held back. Point 10. You're developing new sensitivities. Here's something that sounds strange, but happens to almost everyone in this phase. You become sensitive to things that never bothered you before. Noise feels louder. Crowds feel overwhelming. You can't handle certain foods or drinks like you used to. Your tolerance for stimulation drops dramatically. This isn't you becoming weak or fragile. Your nervous system is recalibrating. When you're going through deep psychological transformation, your entire system becomes more permeable, more open, more sensitive. And that means you pick up on things you used to filter out. Jung talked about this as becoming more conscious. When you're living on autopilot, running on old programming, you can handle a lot of external stimulation because you're essentially numb. But when you wake up, when you become aware, suddenly everything hits different. Let me paint a picture. Someone who used to go to loud bars and parties suddenly can't handle the noise. They need quiet, soft lighting, calm environments. Their friends think they've become boring, but they haven't. They've become sensitive to their own needs. Or think about someone who realizes they can't drink coffee anymore because it makes them too anxious. Or they have to cut out sugar because it affects their mood too much. Their body is sending clearer signals now, and they're finally listening. This sensitivity extends to people too. You can feel when someone's energy is off. You know when someone's lying even if they're saying all the right words. You pick up on the unspoken tension in rooms. It's like your intuitive capacity gets turned way up. In spiritual circles, they call this becoming an empath. In psychology, it's called heightened sensitivity during transitional periods. Either way, you're feeling more, sensing more, absorbing more, and it's exhausting. This is why people going through transformation need to protect their energy. They can't binge Netflix for 6 hours anymore because it's too much stimulation. They can't doom scroll social media. They can't hang out with toxic people. Their system can't handle what it used to tolerate. And here's the tricky part. Society sees this as you becoming difficult or high maintenance. You're the one who needs special accommodations now. You can't just go with the flow anymore. But that's because you're honoring your actual needs instead of overriding them. Jung believes sensitivity is a gift, not a weakness. Sensitive people feel the collective unconscious more strongly. They pick up on truths others miss. They're the canaries in the coal mine of society, feeling the toxicity before others notice. But during the rebirth phase, before you learn to manage this new sensitivity, it feels like a curse. You can't function in your old life with your new nervous system. Everything's too much, too loud, too bright, too draining. The gift is that this sensitivity forces you to build a life that actually works for you. You can't fake it through the wrong job, wrong relationship, wrong environment anymore. Your body won't let you. So you have to create something that fits who you're becoming. Are you noticing you can't handle things you used to? That's your system upgrading. Honor it. Wait until you hear the final point. This is the one Jung said separates transformation from just going through a hard time. Point 11. You're having a crisis of meaning. This is the big one. The hardest truth to accept. During this death before rebirth phase, nothing means what it used to mean. Your career that defined you, meaningless. Your accomplishments, empty. Your goals, hollow dusty. And you're sitting in this existential void, thinking, what's the point of any of this? This is what Jung called the crisis of meaning. And he believed it was the most important psychological experience a person could have. Because you can't find true meaning while living someone else's version of a meaningful life. Everything you thought mattered was given to you. Your parents said success matters. Society said money matters. Your peer group said status matters. So you pursued those things. And maybe you achieved them. But now you're holding them and feeling nothing. Because they weren't your meanings. They were borrowed meanings. Let me give you a stark example. Think about someone who spent 15 years building a business. Long hours, sacrifices, finally exits for millions of dollars. Everyone congratulates them. They're a success story. But inside, they feel empty. Because the meaning they attached to that goal wasn't real. It was programmed. Now they have everything and nothing simultaneously. Or someone who achieves the relationship they wanted, the body they wanted, the life they imagined, and still feels hollow. Not because those things are bad, but because they were chasing someone else's definition of a good life. This crisis of meaning is brutal because we need meaning to survive. Viktor Frankl proved this. People can endure almost anything if they have a reason why. But when your why disappears, when nothing seems to matter, you're in the darkest place possible. Jung said this crisis is necessary because it forces you to find your own meaning. Not inherited meaning, not societal meaning, your authentic purpose. But you can only find that after everything you thought gave life meaning has been burned down. Think of it like this. You've been living in a house built on someone else's foundation. It was stable. It worked. But it was never yours. Now the foundation is cracking. The house is collapsing. And you're terrified because you don't know what you'll build on the rubble. But until the old structure comes down, you can't build your true home. This is why people in their 40s often have massive existential crises. Why successful people sometimes walk away from everything. Why someone who seems to have it all suddenly says, "I don't know what I'm doing anymore." They're not failing. They're waking up to the fact that they've been living someone else's life. The hard part is you can't rush this process. You can't intellectually figure out your meaning. You can't Google it. You can't find it in a self-help book. You have to sit in the meaninglessness until your authentic purpose emerges from within. Jung spent years in this place. He had a successful career, a family, recognition, and one day he realized none of it meant what he thought it meant. So he dove into his unconscious, faced his demons, let his old meanings die, and eventually, his real work emerged. The work we're still talking about 60 years after his death. But during those years of crisis, he questioned everything, thought he was going crazy, wasn't sure if he'd make it through. The crisis of meaning is that serious. It's the death of your old worldview before the new one is born. Here's what you need to understand. If you're in this crisis right now, you're not broken. You're breaking through. You're destroying false meanings to find true meaning. And that process is supposed to hurt. It's supposed to be disorienting. Because real transformation requires the old structure to completely dissolve. Are you questioning the point of everything right now? That's not nihilism. That's the doorway to authentic meaning. Walk through it. Point 12. Something is emerging, but you can't see it yet. Now we come to the final sign. The one Jung struggled to explain because it's paradoxical. While you feel dead inside, while everything's falling apart, while you're in the void, something new is actually forming beneath the surface. You can't see it. You can't touch it. But it's there, growing, waiting for the right moment to emerge. This is what makes the entire process so confusing. You feel like you're dying, and you are. But simultaneously, you're being reborn. Both things are happening at once. Death and birth. Ending and beginning. Destruction and creation. Jung called this the tension of opposites. And he believed the greatest psychological growth happens in that tension. Not after it. During it. While you're in the impossible space between who you were and who you're becoming. Think about that caterpillar again. While it's dissolving in the cocoon, imaginal cells are forming. These are cells that contain the blueprint of the butterfly. But they're forming while the caterpillar's body is literally turning to goo. Death and creation happening simultaneously in the same space. That's you right now. Your old self is dying. Your imaginal cells are forming. But you can't see the butterfly yet. You're just in the goo. And the goo is terrifying. Here's a modern example. Someone quits their corporate job with no plan. Everyone thinks they're crazy. They think they're crazy. They're living off savings, don't know what's next, feel lost. But deep in their psyche, a new calling is forming. They can't articulate it yet. Can't package it for LinkedIn. But it's there. You're dating. Or someone ends a long relationship. Grieves it. Feels destroyed. Everyone asks if they're dating yet, ready to move on. But they're not ready because something deeper is happening. They're learning to be whole on their own. That's not visible. That's internal. But it's the most important work they'll ever do. Jung said, trust the process even when you can't see the outcome. Trust that your psyche knows what it's doing. That nature doesn't make mistakes. That this darkness has a purpose, even if you can't grasp it intellectually. Here's the thing about rebirth. It doesn't happen all at once. You don't go to sleep a caterpillar and wake up a butterfly. There are false starts. Days you feel better, then crash again. Moments of clarity followed by weeks of confusion. The new you emerges gradually, in fits and starts. And you can't force it. You can't schedule your rebirth. You can't productivity hack your way through transformation. You can only show up every day, do the inner work, and trust that something is happening even when it feels like nothing is happening. I'll tell you something Jung discovered. The darkest point, the moment when you feel most dead inside, is often right before the breakthrough. It's the final death throes of the old self. The last desperate attempt of the ego to maintain control. But if you can sit with that darkness just a little longer, if you don't run or numb or distract, the light starts breaking through. Think about every transformation story you know. The hero is always at their lowest point, right before they triumph. Rocky is beaten and broken before the final fight. The phoenix burns completely to ash before rising. Jesus dies before resurrection. It's always darkest before dawn. That's not just a cliché. It's the pattern of transformation. So, if you're reading this and you're in the darkest part right now, I want you to hear this clearly. You're not too far gone. You're not beyond hope. You are not broken beyond repair. You're in the final stage before emergence. The old you has almost completely died, which means the new you is almost ready to be born. But you have to stop fighting it. Stop trying to go back to normal. Stop panicking about the emptiness. Stop rushing the process. Your only job right now is to be in the cocoon, to let the dissolution happen. To trust that nature knows how to turn caterpillars into butterflies, and it knows how to transform you too. Jung said individuation, becoming your true self, is the hardest journey you'll ever take, because it requires dying while you're still alive, letting go of everything you thought you were, sitting in the unknown, trusting a process you can't control. But he also said it's the only journey worth taking, because on the other side of this death is authentic life. Real life. Your life. Can you feel something stirring beneath the surface, even if you can't name it yet? That's your rebirth beginning. Look, if you made it this far, you're not just watching a video. You're recognizing yourself in these signs. You're in this process right now, or you have been. And I want you to know something. This experience, as painful as it is, marks you as someone rare. Most people never go through this. They live their entire lives in borrowed identities, pursuing borrowed dreams, never questioning, never transforming. They're comfortable, but they're not alive. Not really. You're different. You couldn't stay asleep, even if you tried. Your psyche won't let you. It's demanding that you become real, become whole, become you. And yes, that means going through this death. This void, this darkness. But it also means you get to experience true rebirth. You get to know who you actually are beneath all the masks. Jung believed minds like yours are meant to lead, not follow. But before you can lead anyone, you have to complete this journey yourself. You have to die to who you thought you were and be reborn as who you actually are. So what do you do now? How do you navigate this? First, stop fighting it. Stop trying to force yourself back to normal. Your psyche is smarter than your conscious mind. It knows you've outgrown your old life. Trust it. Second, create space for the process. You need solitude. You need quiet. You need time to be with yourself without distraction. This is not the time to be busy. This is the time to be still. Third, let yourself feel everything. Don't numb. Don't run. Don't distract. Whatever emotions come up, feel them fully. That's how they move through and out. Fourth, Keep a journal or record your dreams. Your unconscious is trying to communicate with you. Pay attention to the symbols, the patterns, the messages. Fifth, find at least one person who gets it. A therapist who understands Jungian psychology. A friend who's been through their own transformation. Someone who won't try to fix you or cheer you up, but who can just witness your process. And finally, be patient. Rebirth happens on soul time, not clock time. You don't get to decide when you emerge from the cocoon. You only get to decide whether you trust the process or fight it. I wanted to hear from you. Which of these signs hit you hardest? What are you experiencing that I didn't cover? Drop it in the comments. Because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you want more content like this, real psychological depth, not surface-level motivation, hit that subscribe button. Because we're building a community of people who are willing to do the hard work of becoming whole. People who aren't afraid of the darkness because they know what's waiting on the other side. Your old self is dying. Your new self is being born. And somewhere in that paradox, you're becoming more yourself than you've ever been. Stay with it. Trust the process. And know that you're not alone in the cocoon. The butterfly is coming. I promise.